We saw Kansas struggle a little bit tonight with Southern Utah. We saw Texas the other night go out and pound Gonzaga, right? Kansas obviously beat Duke in the Champions Classic. Where do you stand on who the best team in that conference is? Do you still think it's Kansas? Is it Texas now? Is there too much overreacting going on to these small sample sizes? Robbie, where do you stand on the best team in the Big 12?
Well, right now, I think it's Texas. I think their depth. I think their guards. I just think that Chris Beard can throw so many different combinations of players out there, and the way they guard you. Not that Kansas isn't, they're going to be really good too. But I think that I don't think Kansas has near the amount of guys that can be thrown out there. They've got to. I think their best five is good, but I do worry about the bench some for the Kansas Jayhawks. But I really think Texas has dudes on top of dudes on that roster.
Yeah, Kansas got 4 points off their bench tonight. Laval, let me ask you this. I texted you guys about this before. One of the things that people like me that gamble way too much look for are trap games, right? Where you're coming off of a big win, or you have a big matchup coming up in your next game or coming up in the future. And you're going up against a team like a Southern Utah after winning in the Champions Classic and right before, I think they leave tomorrow for the battle for Atlantis. So how much does that actually impact a locker room? Is that something that you've seen in your experiences where it's kind of hard maybe to get up for a game like that?
Yeah, as much as you hate, I mean, you're fighting it, Rob, right? Like those games and the game right before Christmas break, like we'd always tell our guys, hey, listen, we can't be running, we can't be running for the bus here. Like we gotta play because the other team's excited to play. And so you're fighting human nature, right? And especially now with social media and everybody's talking about the battle for Atlantis or the next game, or they're still patting you on the back about a big win, the other night against Duke. And so as much as you're trying to emphasize staying present, staying in the moment, being where your feet are, it's hard. They're 18 to 22-year-old kids. And so you're just trying to keep them focused on, and you don't want to be one of those teams that thinks they can turn it on and turn it off, right? You're just trying to battle against that as much as possible.
Robbie, did you deal with that at all?
Yeah, the Christmas break thing is so real because everybody's excited to go home and see their family. And I think as a player, you get excited about the games against the best teams on national television. And when you're playing a directional school or whoever, some of the lesser opponents, I will say, especially when you've got some big games sandwiched like Kansas did tonight, that can be tough. That can be tough. But I think that's where you have to lean on your veterans and guys who have been there and understand kind of what the deal is, where when you lose these games, it really hurts you come NCAA tournament time when you're trying to get a high seed and, make the NCAA tournament or whatever situation your team finds itself in. Every game is important. You lose to a team in the 300 at KenPom, it's a killer on your resume. But with that being said, at times, even in the Big Ten, like I swear to God, we played at Penn State on every break they had possible. And not that they have great crowds there anyway. They're a football school. You play there on Christmas break. You play there on President's Weekend. That place is empty. And you got to really manufacture your own energy because you're going out there. You're used to playing at Michigan State, Indiana, Illinois, Wisconsin. These places have big-time juice. And sometimes you roll into the Bryce Jordan Center and there'd be 1,000 people there.
That's why they kept picking off people at the end of the Big Ten season. All right. I'm going to stick in the Big Ten for 1 second before we get into this Illinois game, because I told you guys I was going to ask you this. Hunter Dickinson